So then Catherine gets into another relationship. His name is John Chillingworth. They actually had a relationship for about 3 years. There wasn't much abuse going on in this new relationship. They ended up having a son together. And it's said that this relationship was really calm and good because most of the time, Catherine was cheating on John with another man whose name was John Price. It said that her relationship was good because she was having an affair. And so that's why, like, there was no reports of her being crazy. So John was 45 at the time. And this would just be the relationship that really pushed her over the edge. When the relationship first started, it was going really well. They would go out socially, have some drinks with friends at the local pub. John had are these all the same names? John had 2 children who lived with him. They were a little bit older though, so they weren't young. And the children reported to really like Catherine. They didn't have any issues with her. John worked in the local mines and he made pretty good money and he did really well for himself. But Catherine did suggest to John that they get married. But John actually declined. He was like, no, this isn't a good idea. I don't really want to get married. And when he declined, that's when obviously things once again just didn't go so well. That's when friends would notice that Catherine started to become very verbally abusive towards him. Mentally, she was always in his head. She would also become physically abusive with John as well. So she was just beating the poor guy up. The worst thing about, this isn't the worst thing about her, but the thing with Catherine is when she was upset, she would always fight with vengeance. Like, she wouldn't just fight with you like a normal person. With Catherine, she was just cutthroat. Like, one thing she had done was John took home a first aid kit from his work, and Catherine took video of it showing that the first aid kit was in his possession, and then she sent that to John's boss, which then got him fired because to the company it was seen as him stealing property or whatever. So she did that because she was mad at him that he wouldn't get married to her, but then she ended up getting him fired. So now John's like, dude, what the fuck? I mean, it turns out the first aid kit was only worth like $20. So it was really upsetting to John, and John actually ended up kicking her out of the house that they lived in, which was John's house. So John was fired from his job, and then he kicked Catherine out. They actually were apart for about 3 months, but somehow Catherine would always weasel her way back in with these guys. So Catherine would constantly pressure John to marry her. I don't know what it is with her in marriage. Like, she just wanted to be married. John refused, and it would just lead to more and more fights. Their friends and their family started to notice it even more. Anytime that there was an altercation, though, between Catherine and John, John would go tell a friend what was going on. That way he always had a witness or somebody who knew what happened, just in case Catherine wanted to flip the script and act like she was the victim in the relationship. So at least he was kind of smart in that sense. Like, he was trying to let people know, like, this is what happened. If you hear something else, then it's a lie. So eventually John ended up calling the police because he wanted Catherine out of the house. He wanted her gone and she wouldn't leave. So he called the police thinking that, they could pretty much escort Catherine out of the household. He could get rid of her, just remove her from my house. But the police came back saying that John needed a court order to get her removed from the house. In February of 2000, there was a fight between Catherine and John, which ended with a chest wound. So Catherine tried to stab John, and she ended up going to police and reported that he was being violent towards her, and it was in self-defense. She then took a restraining order out against him. But these restraining orders, no matter like who got one, they would always end up back together. I think John knew that something was going to happen because he ended up telling coworkers, if he ever goes missing or something happens to him, that it was Catherine. Catherine would kill him. So he was telling coworkers this, and really just like being open about it. He also sat down his boss and told his boss everything that was going on as well. And the same thing, if anything had happened to him, that it was Catherine. The bitch is crazy. So John ends up going to the courts because he wants to get Catherine removed from the house and also a restraining order against her. So he goes to the courts, he tells them everything that's going on, and he left there with a restraining order which would limit contact from Catherine. But of course they went ignored by Catherine. Like, she didn't give two shits. So a little while later, John comes home from work and he has like a whole routine where he goes to the neighbors, he says hello, checks in with everybody, and then he ends up falling asleep. We're going to bed at 11 p.m. Catherine came home shortly after that. She made herself dinner, she watched some TV, she took a shower, and then she went up to bed and she woke John up. They had sexual relations and then they went back to bed. Well, John went back to bed. Catherine kept a butcher's knife in her bedstand next to the bed in one of the drawers. Suspicious. And then this is when everything just goes bad. And I don't know what exactly triggered this. Something was triggered. So Catherine opens up her nightstand. She takes out her butcher knife. And then she proceeds to stab John 37 times. And according to blood evidence, it seemed that John definitely tried to fight back and he tried to make a run for it, but eventually he passed away. After killing John, she then took a bunch of pills, laid down, and I think she tried to kill herself or she was just putting on a show for police. We don't really know. The next day, John's co-workers, took his word for it. He didn't show up for work that day. They were like, John said if he doesn't come to work, to call the police because Catherine killed him. So John doesn't show up for work and his coworkers, being great people, call the police. Police go to the house. They're going to go do a check, see what's going on. Now, police knock at the door. They're not getting an answer. They see that John's truck is there, so obviously he's home. They knock, nobody's answering. So then they look through the little peephole, not the peephole, where they put the mail slot. Yes. They look through the mail slot just to see if they can see anything. The police reported that all he could see was a big curtain hanging and it was blocking his view. So after no response, the police go inside of the home and they proceed inside. So they're walking towards this big curtain. The other police officer thought it was a big blanket that was kind of covering the way. They could automatically see when they walked in, there's just blood everywhere, right? So they know something went down in here, okay? They're walking towards this curtain. The police pushes the curtain aside so they proceed into the room. So he uses his left arm to push it aside. The police looks down and realizes his whole arm is covered in blood. So he looks at this curtain that he just pushed aside. He looks at the curtain. He realizes it's not a curtain. This is serious. He looks and he realizes it's not a curtain. Nay. It's skin hanging from the door frame. Just skin. Then he looks down on the ground and sees a torso on the ground. No head. Side note, I know a police officer is supposed to be, brave and strong, but any of us would have ran out of there so quick, screaming. Hell no. That's like something you would just see in a movie, not real life.